Zero visibility, zero hits. Master Chief Marcus Kane announced as he watched 3 elite SEAL snipers fail to locate enemy soldiers hidden in the dense Amazon rainforest. This jungle swallows bullets like quicksand. He looked at Natalie Hayes, crouched quietly beside her rifle. Maybe we should call for air support instead of relying on... He never finished the sentence because none of them knew that in exactly 15 minutes, 12 enemy combatants would have American hostages in their crosshairs, and she would be the only one who could see them through the green hell of the jungle. Lieutenant Natalie Ghost Hayes crouched silently in the suffocating humidity of the Amazon rainforest, her M24 SWS sniper rifle resting across her knees while Chief Kane's voice carried through the thick air around her. At 29 years old, she was the only woman on SEAL Team 7's sniper unit. Though her teammates made it clear every day that they considered her presence more liability than asset. The Amazon basin stretched endlessly in all directions, a living wall of green that blocked out the sun and reduced visibility to mere meters. Vines hung like curtains. Massive tree trunks created natural barriers, and the constant sound of dripping water made acoustic detection nearly impossible. The air itself seemed to breathe with humidity so thick it felt like drowning on dry land. "Hayes, you're on overwatch," Chief Kane commanded, his voice tight with frustration. "Try not to shoot any trees." The other SEAL snipers chuckled as they moved into their assault positions. Staff Sergeant Rivers, Petty Officer Martinez, and Corpsman Jackson, all with perfect training records, all with multiple combat deployments, all convinced that jungle warfare required volume of fire instead of precision shots. But Natalie had been tracking the enemy patrol for 23 minutes. Through her scope, she could see what the others couldn't: 12 hostile combatants moving through the jungle with military precision, armed with AK-47s and carrying equipment that suggested they were far more than random insurgents. They had taken 3 American intelligence officers prisoner during a recon mission gone wrong, and satellite imagery indicated they were moving toward an extraction point where the hostages would disappear forever. But enemy soldiers were professionals, likely former special forces from a hostile nation operating under the cover of a drug cartel. Their movements were coordinated, their positioning tactical, and their equipment included advanced communication gear that could summon significant reinforcements if given the opportunity. Crack, crack, crack. Staff Sergeant Rivers opened fire from 200 meters north, his bullets shredding leaves and bark, but finding no human targets. The enemy soldiers immediately scattered, using the jungle's natural cover to become nearly invisible. Crack, crack, crack. Petty Officer Martinez fired from the eastern position, his shots echoing through the canopy as he tried to engage targets he couldn't clearly see. His frustration was evident in his voice as he called out target locations that changed constantly in the shifting shadows. Crack, crack, crack. Corpsman Jackson added his firepower from the south, the 3 SEAL snipers creating a crossfire that should have been devastating, but instead accomplished nothing except alerting the enemy to American positions. "Contact negative," Rivers reported over the radio, his voice tight with professional disappointment. "0 confirmed hits. These bastards are using the jungle like it's their backyard." "Same here," Martinez confirmed with obvious frustration. "I can hear them moving, but I can't get a clear shot through this vegetation. It's like they know exactly where our blind spots are." "It's like shooting ghosts," Jackson added, his tone reflecting the growing realization that conventional tactics weren't working. They appear for a split second, then vanish into green hell. Chief Kane's voice crackled through their headsets. All units, maintain suppressive fire. Drive them toward the extraction point where air support can engage. We need to force them into open ground. But Natalie knew that plan would fail. Through her scope, she could see the enemy soldiers regrouping around their prisoners, using the three American intelligence officers as human shields, while they prepared to execute them rather than risk capture. The lead enemy operator was speaking into a radio, likely calling for helicopter extraction that would arrive before American air support could respond. She keyed her radio softly. Chief, I have eyes on all 12 hostile combatants and 3 friendly prisoners. Enemy is preparing to execute the hostages rather than retreat. They're calling for immediate extraction. Negative, Hayes, Kane replied tersely. Impossible to have accurate count in this vegetation. Continue overwatch and wait for air support. Do not engage without clear authorization. But air support was 8 minutes out, and the hostages would be dead in 3 minutes. She could see the enemy commander checking his watch and making hand signals that clearly indicated immediate execution orders. Natalie had grown up hunting in the deep forests of Oregon, where her father had taught her to read the woods like a book. She understood how shadows moved through dense foliage, how to identify human shapes among natural camouflage, how to calculate bullet trajectory through overlapping branches and hanging vines. Her childhood had been spent learning to track elk through old-growth timber, where a single misplaced step or poorly calculated shot meant going hungry. The Amazon was different, bigger, denser, more alive with dangers, but the fundamental principles were the same. Every forest had its rhythm, its language of sounds and movements that told stories to those who knew how to listen. She could see all 12 enemy soldiers, even though they thought they were invisible. Target 1, the leader, crouched behind a massive cecropia tree, using hand signals to coordinate his team's movement. His radio antenna was visible through a gap in the leaves. Target 2, the communication specialist, partially concealed behind a cluster of heliconia plants, speaking into a radio that would summon reinforcements. His muzzle flash suppressor caught a glint of filtered sunlight. Targets 3 through 6, 4 fighters positioned around the prisoners, AK-47s trained on American heads, ready to execute on command. Their breathing patterns were visible in the humid air. Targets 7 through 12, support team members spread throughout the immediate area, creating a defensive perimeter that would make any rescue attempt suicidal for conventional forces. She had counted them, memorized their positions, calculated the angles needed to engage each target through the jungle's natural obstacles. More importantly, she had identified the sequence in which they needed to be eliminated to prevent any chance of hostage execution. But Chief Kane had ordered her to maintain overwatch only. American intelligence officers were about to die while 3 elite SEAL snipers fired blindly into empty jungle. Their training and experience rendered useless by an environment that demanded different skills entirely. Natalie made the decision that would define her career and save American lives. She went hunting. Her first shot eliminated the communications specialist before he could call for backup. The bullet passed through 2 layers of hanging vines, deflected slightly off a branch, and found its target with surgical precision. The complex trajectory required calculations that she performed instinctively, reading wind patterns through the canopy and adjusting for the slight deflection caused by moist air. Her second shot took out the team leader, disrupting their command structure just as he was giving the execution order. The range was over 300 meters through dense vegetation, a shot that should have been impossible according to conventional military doctrine. The remaining 10 enemy soldiers scattered in panic, unsure where the shots were coming from. But Natalie had anticipated every possible movement. She had studied their deployment pattern, identified their likely escape routes, and positioned herself to intercept any attempt at tactical withdrawal. Her third shot eliminated a fighter who was raising his weapon toward the first hostage, a CIA intelligence analyst whose death would have compromised ongoing operations across South America. Her fourth shot took out another executioner before he could pull the trigger, saving a Navy cryptographer whose knowledge of enemy communication protocols was vital to national security. The jungle erupted in chaos as the enemy soldiers realized they were being hunted by an invisible predator who could apparently see through solid vegetation and deliver death with mathematical precision. "What the hell?" Chief Kane's voice exploded over the radio. "Who's shooting? Identify your position." "Ghost," came Natalie's quiet response as she fired her fifth shot, eliminating another target who was attempting to coordinate a counterattack. "I have clear sightlines on all remaining hostiles." "Hayes, ceasefire. You're compromising the mission. Wait for backup." But Natalie was already tracking her sixth target, a fighter who was trying to use one of the American prisoners as a human shield. Her shot was so precisely placed that it eliminated the threat without harming the hostage, the bullet passing within inches of the intelligence officer's head to find its mark. 7 targets down, 5 remaining. The surviving enemy soldiers were now in full retreat, abandoning their prisoners and fleeing deeper into the jungle. But fleeing through forest terrain against a sniper who understood the environment was suicide. Natalie could track them by the sound of their movement, the pattern of disturbed vegetation, the rhythm of their panicked breathing. Natalie's seventh shot eliminated a fighter trying to escape through a gap in the canopy, her bullet finding him as he attempted to use a natural break in the forest ceiling for concealment. Her eighth shot took out another soldier attempting to use a fallen log for cover, demonstrating that conventional military tactics were useless against someone who could read the jungle's true geography. Her ninth shot found a target who thought he was hidden behind a screen of hanging moss, proving that natural camouflage was ineffective against a hunter who understood how shadows moved through living forest. Her 10th shot eliminated a fighter who was climbing a tree to gain elevation advantage, intercepting him halfway up the trunk with a shot that required calculating his movement speed and trajectory through multiple layers of branches. One enemy soldier remained, and he had made the tactical mistake of trying to flank her position. He was moving with professional skill, using proper cover and concealment techniques that would have been effective against conventional opponents. But Natalie wasn't conventional. She tracked him through the scope as he moved from tree to tree, thinking he was invisible. She could hear his breathing, see the slight movement of branches as he passed, predict exactly where he would appear next based on the natural geography of the forest floor. Her 11th shot ended the engagement with the same precision that had characterized every previous kill. The final enemy soldier fell silently to the jungle floor, his tactical expertise useless against an opponent who had learned to hunt in forests before she could properly hold a rifle. 12 enemy combatants eliminated, 3 American hostages rescued, 0 friendly casualties. Perfect accuracy through dense jungle terrain that had defeated 3 elite SEAL snipers with decades of combined combat experience. "All hostiles down," Natalie reported over the radio with characteristic calm. "American prisoners are safe and ready for extraction." The silence that followed lasted exactly 10 seconds. Then, every SEAL on the team began talking at once. Did she just say all hostiles down? 12 kills through jungle cover? How is that even possible? I never saw half those targets. She just eliminated an entire enemy squad by herself. Chief Kane's voice cut through the chatter with a mixture of awe and professional curiosity. "Hayes, what's your position?" "Same Overwatch position you assigned," Natalie replied calmly. 3 American intelligence officers ready for immediate extraction. All enemy threats neutralized. 20 minutes later, the rescued prisoners were being loaded onto evacuation helicopters, while the SEAL team processed what they had witnessed. The intelligence officers were shaken but grateful.
their debriefing confirming that they had been seconds away from execution when the shooting started. How? Staff Sergeant Rivers asked, staring at the jungle where 12 enemy soldiers had been eliminated by shots he couldn't even see. I mean, how did you acquire targets through this vegetation? I've been a sniper for 15 years, and I couldn't hit anything in these conditions. Natalie checked her rifle and prepared to board the extraction aircraft. You learn to read the forest instead of fighting it, she said quietly. Every shadow has a pattern, every sound has a source, every movement leaves a trace. The jungle isn't your enemy if you know how to listen to what it's telling you. Petty Officer Martinez nodded slowly, his respect evident in his voice. I counted at least 6 shots that went through multiple layers of cover. That's not just marksmanship. That is something else entirely. That's why they call her Ghost, Corman Jackson said with obvious admiration. She sees things the rest of us miss. She hunts like the jungle is her natural environment. But Chief Kane wasn't finished. Hayes, those were impossible shots under impossible conditions. I need to understand how you made them work. This could change how we approached jungle warfare. Natalie looked around at the green hell of the Amazon rainforest, where most snipers saw only obstacles and concealment. To her, it was a living map that revealed its secrets to anyone patient enough to learn its language. The jungle isn't hiding them, Chief. It's showing them to anyone who knows how to look. Back at the forward operating base, the mission debriefing revealed the full scope of what Natalie had accomplished. Using a standard M24 SWS in conditions that had rendered 3 elite SEAL snipers ineffective, she had eliminated an entire enemy squad while protecting American hostages and preventing a significant intelligence compromise.
Lieutenant Hayes' performance represents a new standard for jungle warfare operations, Colonel Anderson announced to the assembled SEAL team, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had witnessed something unprecedented. 11 confirmed kills through dense vegetation with trajectories that required calculating bullet paths through multiple natural obstacles. Chief Kane stood up slowly, his attitude completely transformed from the man who had doubted her abilities hours earlier. Hayes, I owe you an apology. We all do. You didn't just prove you belong on this team, you proved you're the best sniper we have, and probably the best jungle warfare specialist the Navy has ever produced. The other SEAL snipers nodded in agreement, their earlier skepticism replaced by genuine respect and professional admiration. How long have you been tracking jungle targets? Rivers asked with professional curiosity. Since I was 12, Natalie replied. My father taught me to hunt in old-growth forests in Oregon. Dense canopy, thick undergrowth, limited visibility. The Amazon is bigger and more dangerous, but the fundamental principles are the same. Martinez shook his head in amazement. We've been approaching jungle warfare all wrong. We thought it was about firepower and area suppression, overwhelming the environment with superior equipment. Sometimes it is, Natalie said diplomatically, but today it was about precision and patience, about understanding that the forest will teach you everything you need to know if you know how to listen to its lessons. Colonel Anderson walked over to her personally. Hayes, effective immediately. Your lead sniper for all jungle operations. Your teammates will train under your supervision until they can match your performance in dense terrain. We're also establishing a new jungle warfare training program based on your methods. For the first time since joining SEAL Team 7, Natalie Hayes smiled. Thank you, sir. I won't let the team down. But everyone in that room already knew she wouldn't. They had seen what the jungle ghost could accomplish when American lives were on the line and conventional tactics failed completely. 3 years after the Amazon mission, Lieutenant Commander Natalie Hayes had revolutionized special operations training worldwide. Her Jungle Warfare Academy at Fort Bragg had become the premier destination for elite military units seeking to master combat operations in dense terrain. Representatives from 23 allied nations had completed her certification program, and her tactical innovations had been incorporated into NATO Special Operations Doctrine.
The woman who had once been dismissed as unsuitable for jungle combat now authored the definitive military manual on forest warfare, titled Reading the Green: Advanced Tactical Operations in Dense Terrain. Her techniques were being taught not just to snipers, but to entire special operations units who needed to understand how natural environments could be leveraged for tactical advantage. 6 months later, SEAL Team 7 had become the most effective jungle warfare unit in the Navy. Under Natalie's training, all team members had learned to read forest terrain, calculate complex trajectories through vegetation, and engage targets that would have been impossible to hit using traditional methods. The operating base, where she had once been doubted, now featured a specialized jungle warfare training facility with Natalie's techniques being taught to SEAL teams worldwide. Military personnel from allied nations requested training in her methods, and her tactical innovations were being incorporated into special operations doctrine globally. But more importantly, she had fundamentally changed how the military approached combat operations in dense terrain. Her perfect performance had proven that jungle warfare wasn't about overpowering the environment. It was about understanding it, respecting it, and learning to work with it rather than against it. The jungle doesn't hide your enemies became her signature teaching phrase. It reveals them to anyone with the patience to learn its language. Chief Kane, now her second in command for jungle operations, kept a map on his wall, marking all the locations where Natalie had achieved impossible shots. 12 pins marked the Amazon mission, but dozens of others showed similar successes in forests around the world. Underneath the map, in his own handwriting, were the words that had become legend in the SEAL community. She sees what others miss. The woman they called a liability had become their most valuable asset. The sniper who couldn't get clear shots had redefined what clear shots meant in jungle warfare. Her response to their skepticism hadn't been arguments or complaints. It had been 11 perfect shots through dense vegetation, 3 American lives saved, and a perfect mission completion under impossible conditions. Sometimes the most powerful response is the one delivered without words, just results that speak louder than any argument. Natalie Ghost Hayes had provided exactly that kind of response, proving that the right sniper in the right environment could accomplish what entire teams couldn't achieve through conventional means. The jungle had found its perfect hunter, and she had proven that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming until it's already too late to run. From that day forward, no one questioned whether she belonged on the team. The only question was whether the rest of them could learn to hunt like ghosts in the green hell where she felt most at home. The Amazon rainforest had tested 3 elite SEAL snipers and found them wanting. But it had embraced Natalie Hayes like she was born to move through its shadows. And she had responded by showing everyone that some warriors were simply meant for the deepest, darkest places where conventional tactics fail and only pure skill survives. The mission had ended with 12 enemy combatants eliminated and 3 American lives saved. But more than that, it had begun a legend that would be told in SEAL training facilities for generations to come. The legend of the jungle ghost who could see through solid green walls and deliver death with mathematical precision through impossible terrain. Sometimes the sniper everyone doubts is the one who saves the mission when all conventional approaches fail. Sometimes the jungle reveals its secrets only to those who know how to listen to its whispers. And sometimes, perfect accuracy through impossible conditions is the only argument you need to silence every critic forever. Lieutenant Natalie Hayes had proven all these truths in 11 shots that redefined what was possible in the world's most challenging combat environment. The jungle had found its ghost, and she had proven worthy of the title in the most spectacular way imaginable. Thanks for watching.